The LA Clippers bounced back on Friday night against the very shorthanded Memphis Grizzlies and in a very non-convincing fashion. It was a close game all the way to the end. How did the Clippers skin by? Why was their play so sketchy for the second night in a row? And we got to have some conversations about some players in our rotation, particularly Paul George. Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 19th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I went live directly after the game to give my raw reaction. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. And I want you to let me know what's your biggest concern about the way we're playing so far after the All-Star break, because listen, you've listened to me all season, right? And every single time we win one of these games, I'm always like, it doesn't matter how much we win by. It doesn't matter how we win. All that matters is that we win. And this is the first time this season where we've had a win, and I was like, we played so badly. Like, the only reason we won this game is because the Grizzlies were that shorthanded and they're so limited offensively without Desmond Bane, without John Morant, without Brandon Clark still, without Marcus Smart. I mean, they are just banged up to the T, and we still struggled majorly. So 2 straight games off the All-Star break. Clippers have not looked good. They win this one 101-95. Of course, it is a second night of a back-to-back, but we've seen them play on second nights of back-to-backs this season and been much better than this. So we did skin by in the end. It was very shaky all the way to the last couple of minutes. And James Harden, who was 0 for 7 at one point of the game, knocked down a huge patented step-back three. Talk about clutch there. We needed him to hit something. He had not found his shot all game. He was still making some good passes, but again, another game with James Harden where he wasn't creating as many advantages as normal. Now, granted, in the beginning of the game, they had the Williams guys, Zaire Williams and Vince Williams, who I was pretty impressed by, guarding 2-1-3. So the mismatch was Luke Kennard, our good old friend Luke Kennard, guarding James Harden. And in the first couple of possessions, James did a good job of getting by Luke, drawing extra defenders, and then finding Terrence Mann for a couple of threes. And Terrence Mann, one of the biggest reasons we won this game was his performance. I'm not going to say I told anybody so, because I know who Terrence Mann is. This is why he's one of the reasons why he's my favorite player, because the stuff that he does wrong is very minimal to me. It's just hesitancy, confidence things. But for the most part, he's always going to just work hard and be available. And he had 10 points in the first quarter of this game. But what hurt him was that second foul he picked up. His arm was getting locked and grabbed, and they called the foul on Terrence. So that was very unfortunate, but I like how he stuck with it. There were still times where he and Amir Coffey were not letting it fly when they caught the ball. And the Grizzlies' strategy was actually very smart in this game. It was that they were going to stay home on, on Kawhi, Paul, like all our shooters. And mind you, Norman Powell didn't play this game. He had a sprained ankle. Hopefully it's not too serious. Brian Seaman kind of downplayed it during commentary, but so hopefully we'll have him against Sacramento on Sunday. But their plan was to play high drop coverage and then leave Terrence Mann open or Amir Coffey or Russell Westbrook open. They were funneling it to those guys, and we didn't make our lives any easier when Ty Lue brought in PJ Tucker. I'm going to talk more about that in the second segment, but that was shocking to me that he played PJ Tucker because we didn't have Norm. Typically, I would think we're going to go with Brandon Boston or Kobe Brown without Norman Powell, or even Bones Highland before we go with PJ Tucker. But of course, there have been reports that PJ's been unhappy. He wanted to go to a different team where he could play, so he got an opportunity. And you know what? He didn't impress me at all. Part of why we skinned by is because besides Kawhi, the other three, Russ, Harden, and Paul, they weren't very good. James Harden created some good shots, but for the most part, he was not hitting anything. He wasn't getting super clean looks. He was passing up mid-range step backs. He finished 1 for 8 from the field and 1 for 4 from 3. 6 for 7 from the line. He almost had a triple-double, though. 9 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. So I'll give him this. He did a good job rebounding. And he played 39 minutes, so we went back to playing him a lot. And Russell Westbrook, oh my God. He was just, at one point I thought he was playing pretty well. He was getting to the basket and he was 5 for 8. This was in the beginning of the fourth quarter. And mind you, Paul George is struggling a bit. He's not being very aggressive, which is very disappointing considering the way he played against OKC. He's not being super aggressive, but he finally hits a mid-range shot, right? And then Russ, 3 straight possessions. I kid you not, 3 straight possessions. Looks to go ISO and misses every time. You're the point guard. You have to understand what's best for the team in that moment. Your job is to get the best scorer on the court, Paul George, going, more so than yourself. Russ was already 5 for 8, and I think that's where it stems from. He was like, I'm 5 for 8, I'm going off, let me just keep going off. Man, it really can be detrimental when he does that. It's very selfish. And then I thought a lot of times, whether it be Russ, whether it be Kawhi, Paul, even James, they missed Amir Coffey and Terrence Mann wide open a lot in terms of waiting to pass them. Like, I always tell the kids I coach this. When you have the ball, right, and one of your teammates is open and you don't pass to them, and then 2 dribbles later you pass to them, that advantage that you had might be taken away because they have time to recover. When you see an open teammate that can make a shot from somewhere, you throw them that ball on it like right away. But the Clippers skinned by. I thought Kawhi made some big plays, and I think what turned this game around was Kawhi Leonard in the third quarter was just like no nonsense anymore. And he did it on both ends. He really took over this game. You know, he had some monster dunks, but the defense, the constant deflections, the blocks, the help defense, timely rotations, he really took the game by the scruff of the neck. And I also think Paul George made some big shots in the fourth quarter. His fourth quarter was probably his best quarter, and that's good to see. So he actually shot well in the from 3 in the game, but not too great overall. Just 14 points for Paul, 5 rebounds, 3 assists on 5 for 12 shooting and 4 for 7 from 3. Kawhi had 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a block on 10 for 18 shooting and 2 for 6 from 3. So he was good. He was my player of the game, Kawhi Leonard. It's really nice to have a player like that that's just going to up the seriousness of the entire team. But Terrence Mann, you can argue, was a player of the game too. I mean, huge plays, including the one that sealed the deal where he threw it up to Amir Coffey off of a James Harden strip against Jaren Jackson. Terrence threw it up to Amir Coffey. Amir missed the layup, and then Terrence followed it up and dunked. He had 23 points, 12 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal on 9 for 17 shooting and 4 for 8 from 3. So big-time stuff by Terrence. The Clippers outscored the Grizzlies 48-36 in the second half. And you know what? Just listening to those stats, you would think that it's because our defense tightened up a lot. I think our defense tightened up, but I think we got very lucky that the Grizzlies just missed shots. That's not even being a hater. That was what my eyes were telling me. We were all over the place. And coming up, I'm going to be talking more about that sketchy play. But the important thing is we won, and it's just the same as all the other wins on the win column. 37-18, nice to bounce back after that Thunder game. But let's talk a little bit more about the sketchy play of the Clippers coming up. All right, so look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This was pretty brutal to watch. It was another young team with athleticism that was exposing our age and lack of pace. My first issues in the game, and you know what's funny? It felt just like the OKC game for a second where we were up 23-16, literally the exact same score, 23-16 we were winning. And then Harden and Zubats come out and we slowly start losing control of the game. Now in this game, as I mentioned just a second ago, James Harden actually played more, and part of it was different rotation. So normally we see, or have seen in recent times, Russell Westbrook will check in for James Harden like midway through the first quarter, and then he won't come in till the start of the second, and he'll play the whole second. Same thing happens in the second half. But in this game, Harden only sat like 3 minutes in that first quarter, and then he came right back in. Russ, I'm going to say this in the first quarter. He scored 4 points and he got to the rim, but his defense the last 2 games, and it was mainly in the first quarter of this game, I thought he got better as it went on. It was really looking like Laker Russ defense. Not engaged at all, falling asleep off the ball, not tracking his man, just like giving up on plays, and not in his defensive stance at all, just leaning over. It's really concerning when he does that, because it's like he's not even trying on D, and we know what Russell Westbrook looks like when he's trying on D. Thankfully, we cleaned it up, but it's going to stick out against good teams. He needs to go back to being, playing at a high level. And one of the Russ fans, he told me that his theory is that now that he's ineligible for all defense, because I think you have to play 20-plus minutes in a certain amount of games to be eligible, he's not trying as hard. And that's really shameful if that's true, because that would mean that he's only caring about accolades and not actually contributing to wins. And I don't think that that's the case. I think Russ will he has no choice but to step it up defensively. He's said that one of his biggest contributions to the team is coming out there and competing on defense every night. He needs to get back to that, because his offense can be shaky. And in terms of shaky offense, I think the main reason why this game was so close was, even though the second half defense cleaned up, I didn't love it. I really was sketched out about our lack of attention to detail at times and our lack of communication. And I thought Harden wasn't very good defensively either. Plumlee is atrocious on D. Zubats I thought was really good, but the thing is, Zoo needs to be more disciplined. When he has 4 fouls and he's moving his hands downwards on the contest against Jaren Jackson, that's an obvious foul. And look, we already know Zoo's whistle is one of the worst in the NBA. He needs to be smarter there. I think he did a pretty good job protecting the rim on Jaren Jackson, rebounding, scoring. He had a double-double, but he only played 27 minutes because he fouled out. 10 points, 10 rebounds, and on 5 for 7 shooting. And mind you, Ty Lue didn't play Mason in the second straight game in the second half. All Mason did was he came in, he rolled to the basket and got fouled a couple of times. He made all 6 of his free throws, but he was 0 for 1 in 8 minutes of play. But the main reason we really struggled was because our big 4 wanted to turn the ball over left and right. Kawhi Leonard, 6 turnovers, which is very unlike him. Paul George, 5 turnovers. James Harden, 4 turnovers. And then Russell Westbrook, 3. Combined, you put that together, you get 18 turnovers. That is not going to win you games. And mind you, this is against a very injured team. That's what concerns me. And it's not a one-off performance, guys. It's after a loss. That's what really scares me. Because throughout this season, we've seen the Clippers, after a loss, respond like champions, which is one of the reasons we are the 3 seed. But this was like, you're really playing with fire. Majorly. The turnovers were just out of control. The second quarter was our worst one. 30-24, we got outscored, and I think our defense was just pathetic. The Grizzlies went super small at one point, Aldama at the 5, and they were switching everything, and their size and athleticism was bothering us. Straight up. The Vince Williams, Zaire Williams combination, they have good size and athleticism on the wings defensively, and Vince Williams and Terrence Mann were kind of going at it a bit. But what are the fixes? I know it sounds crazy, but my only fix is, 1, Daniel Tice needs to get back in the rotation over Plumlee. Plumlee's defense is non-existent. He's just a better roller and a rebounder. That's it. But he's really a net negative defensively. And there were a couple of times where Harden threw him some good lob passes. From my vantage point, they look good on TV. And he couldn't catch the ball. His hands might be even worse than Zoo's. Very sketched out by Plumlee. I like Mason, but I think Tice is better, and he was playing really well when we were on that winning streak. We should put him back in the rotation. And then PJ Tucker playing was just kind of like a desperation, like let me give him a chance kind of thing. And we played him with Mason and Russ at the same time, which is another huge reason we were falling apart. PJ Tucker, some people are saying, oh, he hadn't played in months. He looked exactly the same as when he did play last time. He got 1 offensive rebound. He got 3 rebounds in the game. He was a donut with no shot attempts, and he totally is a non-threat offensively. Every team knows it. We saw the playoffs last year. It really hurts your half-court offense, and it was hurting last night. Mason Plumlee and Russell Westbrook and PJ Tucker on the court together. Crazy. I don't know what Ty was thinking. And Amir Coffey didn't play the whole first, and I don't think he played well either. He was struggling immensely on defense for the second straight game, and he wasn't letting it fly from 3 when he got the ball. He made 1 mid-range, but overall, Amir, who's been amazing this season, the last 2 games, very sketchy. 2 points, 1 for 6 from the field, and 0 for 3 from 3. Here's what Terrence Mann and Amir Coffey need to understand, and I guarantee you the coaches are telling them this. Just because you miss an open 3 doesn't mean you can't take an open 3 on the next possession if you get it. Who cares if you miss 2 shots in a row? If they're good shots, it's okay. It happens. People are so afraid to miss shots. Missing open shots and good shots are the least bad thing you can do in basketball. I truly believe that. People are so fixated on missing and making shots because they say, oh, it's a make or miss league. That's how you win the game. No, you win the game by doing the right things. Because eventually, if you keep taking the right shots, they will fall. I promise. Amir Coffey needs to not worry so much. But Ty Lue playing Plumlee, PJ, and Russ all at the same time was really questionable. If I were to play PJ Tucker in the future, and he might be needed, small ball 5. That's the only way to try it. Because your lack of spacing with him as a 4 is major, and it's not like he does anything else offensively. He's the type of guy, and you'll see kids do this a lot, when they have nothing offensively, they'll pass because they can't do anything on the ball, and then they'll screen immediately for who they pass to because they're like, I got to contribute somehow. And I'm very anti-passing and then screening to the person you pass to because when somebody gets past the ball, their first instinct is to, when they're guarded, right? Their first instinct is to, let me see what I got. Let me see what my options are. The second you pass to someone and then you go screen, you're bringing your defender to them. So they've just caught the ball. They're kind of relaxed. They're looking around what's happening. And now they have to see 2 defenders all of a sudden. It's a little stressful. So that's why when you see in fundamental levels, coaches will say pass and then screen away. So you can free them up off the ball and have an option for the guy that you just passed to potentially give it to. But anyway, yeah, that 3, PJ, 3 non-shooters out there at once was sketchy. Russell Westbrook just needs to be better on both ends. These last 2 games have been really bad for him. And I love Russ. Paul George, you know what? We're going to save that coming up. But James Harden wasn't good enough either. He needs to be better. He has not looked very quick the last the last month or so. But I think James will come good. I really do. But let's talk about Paul George coming up. All right, so let's close this thing out. Listen, I seem very aggravated, and I'm not, but it was very frustrating watching that game. And I'm only saying this because against any other team damn near, we would have lost. And we're going to have to play better against Sacramento, and I'm confident that we will, given that it's a home game. And we'll see if Ty Lue plays Tice. I don't know if he will. He might be fixated on that. Russell Westbrook had 13 points on 6 for 15 shooting and 1 for 4 from 3. No free throw attempts. 2 rebounds. Here's what I'll say about Russ. He did some good things getting to the rim, but his turnovers are really sketchy. Paul George, though, 5 turnovers, lazy defense at times. I think he stepped it up in the second half. I mean, we only conceded 16 points in the third, but I really want to give Kawhi Leonard and Zubac most of the credit for that. I thought they were carrying us. I was watching the game, and I was telling my friend, I was like, Kawhi Leonard is really carrying us on D right now. He's everywhere that he needed to be, he was. His defensive IQ is really high compared to other players in the league. There's no secret why he was one of the best defenders in the world and won Defensive Player of the Year twice. He knows exactly which rotations to make. He knows exactly who he needs to do certain things against. He knows his personnel very well, and his hands are just awesome. So I thought he and Zubac really anchored things. Not to say that Paul, James, and Terrence didn't try in the third quarter, but I thought that they were just kind of helping and are kind of bailing guys out, because I've noticed this about the Clippers when we have Zoo healthy. We're so kind of reliant on him protecting the rim that we'll overplay like crazy and just let guys beat us off the bounce or off the ball. and hope that Zoo will bail us out and late switch onto it. Our over-reliance on switching at times is really lazy and problematic. Last night, I saw our players switching off ball when guys were just running past each other, not even setting screens. You're switching way too much in my eyes. It's very lazy. That's very lazy defense to me because nobody wants to stay attached. Nobody wants to sit down. You're not fooling me. I know championship. I don't want to say championship tendencies because it's one regular season game, but I can see serious tendencies in a game and when it's not serious. They're switching way too easily, soft switching. But Paul George, I mean, it's been a while now that he's been playing bad. 14 points is not enough at all. 12 shots. I know their plan was to funnel the ball to Terrence and PJ and Amir and Russ, but Russ shooting 15 times and Paul shooting 12 times, that's just not good enough. And he's playing 14 less minutes. Russ needs to calm down, though. Like, seriously, you're the point guard. But Paul George needs to demand the ball. Here's the problem with Paul George. We know he's not that type of guy. He's going to let Russ rock. That's a major issue. Paul George, man, you got 20. I love Paul George. He's my second favorite player on the team. But he's got 27 games before the playoffs. Time to round into form, brother. I know he's had a groin injury, but I'm going to keep saying it. He does the same stuff healthy. And you know what? It wasn't a lack of effort from Paul, in my opinion. I just think he was missing shots. And then he gets a little discouraged when he misses shots and he does some dumb things defensively and then turns the ball over. I mean, the turnovers are really bad and they're always really untimely. But for the most part, I think he was still trying. He was just missing shots. So I think that's, again, same with Amir Coffey. Missing shots is not the worst thing in the world. I don't think he took any bad shots, really, Paul George. One of them, by the way, he should really be 5 for 11. He had to get a grenade at the end of the shot clock and throw it up. So I'm going to give context to that. So he was really 4 for 6 from 3 and 5 for 11 from the line. That shot that shouldn't even really count. It was a grenade. But at least the Clippers won. And we got to be much better against Sacramento. Defensively, our attention to detail has to improve. We need to stop soft switching so much and take some pride in staying in front of the damn ball. We need to play Tice, but our stars just need to be better. There's no sugarcoating it. We missed Norm immensely in this game because their game plan was really good for not having Norm. He's our best catch-and-shoot three-point player, in my opinion, just off the eye test. I don't have the numbers on their catch-and-shoot three-point percentage, but I guarantee Norm's top 3. And they were trying to funnel it to our other guys. And shout out to Terrence Mann. He really stepped up. He did a lot of great things, a lot of great cutting. But, yeah, we got to be better. That was really – I mean, that felt like a loss. I shouldn't say that, but to me, the performance was loss-worthy. But we'll take it. We'll take it all day long. 37-18. We got a great record right now. Sacramento next is going to be tough. But, hey, one game at a time, right? One game at a time. Whew, Paul George, man, I'm really hoping you turn back around and show these people because this is it, man. You have a super team on your hands. You have James Harden, who arguably should have been an all-star over you on your own team, and your boy Russ off the bench, and you're playing with a better player than you. It's time to put up or shut up. Ain't nobody gonna listen to Podcast P once if it flames out in the playoffs. They'll want to hear your first podcast after to see what you say, and then they'll be like, this guy's unserious. Come on, P. I believe in you. I trust you. But Kawhi, thank God for him, right? Because he really turned up that seriousness. And Zubats, I love Zubats. He's been really solid these last 2 games, but he needs to be a little more disciplined defensively there. Jaren Jackson was doing a good job. He was just scoring on him. Sometimes you're going to get scored on. You can't foul out of the game. Jaren Jackson had 29 points on 11 for 25 shooting, 2 for 7 from 3. So there you go. We still held him to a fairly, not the most efficient shooting game. But yeah. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. The age-old proverb continues. I'll see you all on Sunday. I will be back at the game for my 19th game of the season, our 26th home game, or is it 27th home game? Let me do a little double check on that. 26, 27, it is our 27th home game. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.